What is happening, everybody? Happy New Year to you and Merry Christmas and all the holiday stuff. Comic Book Weekly is back for another episode, and it's the first episode of 2024. And obviously, one of our New Year's resolutions was to not start on time because we
It
are starting
was.
late like usual. And Brant will be on. I think he's running a little bit late, so he'll definitely be on. But it's great to have you guys back. Hopefully, you'll enjoy the show. We're going to talk about, obviously, the comic books of last year, the last round of comics. And then we will talk about some of the comics that we're excited for in 2024. We'll talk about what you guys are excited for, maybe some New Year's resolutions when it comes to the hobby, and just maybe just stuff in general. So I think this will be a fun show just to get things started off for the new year and, slowly get back into a routine again. I don't get back into a normal routine until next week, Kat.
Oh, wow.
My kids are still on winter break, and my tennis schedule doesn't get back to normal until
That's
next
crazy that
week
they're
as well.
still like over here. Everyone goes back January 2nd.
It was crazy. This year was a very long winter break. We had hurricane makeup days last year, so we had a very short winter break last year. So I guess they just decided, hey, you know what? We're just gonna, for some reason, do an extra week. So it's like
That's
almost 2.5
crazy.
weeks or almost 3 weeks of
They'll get it
vacation
cut
for
out
them.
somehow. They'll
Yeah.
try to. I've never seen that before. Usually it's like when I was in school, it used to be like Easter time around like the spring break, we get 2 weeks off, but winter break, we get the week off. And then, January 2nd, you start. And it seems like the kids around here on January 2nd, they're starting. So, but that's wild. Getting back to the swing of things is always, I won't say the difficult part, but it's definitely part of the routine. So
Yeah.
you having to wait a whole week.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse.
It's crazy. I mean, I get to spend some good time with my kids because now that I'm doing like a winter tennis camp, I'm working in the morning and not really working in the evenings, and that's the big difference. And my daughter doesn't have dance during this time,
Oh,
so
wow.
that's a big difference right now. So it does mess with the everyday like YouTube schedule and regular schedule, but it's a great time to spend with the family. So it's cool. And I was able to at least, read all my comics and kind of set shit straight when it comes to like organizing stuff for my channel going into the new year also.
That's always nice. I gotta put some bags of boards in some of those comics. I've been getting a little lazy with that, so I have to start doing that. I have not been able to find time. Even during this break, there's been stuff we've been catching up with, like work-wise, for writing our comics. So it's just been like, oh, that's piling up. And when that starts to pile up, you're like, oh, and I'm staring at it literally every day. So I'm like, I gotta. One of these days, I'm hoping the end of this week I start bagging and boarding some of them and just putting them away. I've been better at it too, so I'm like, oh, I want to just get it away. So I'm gonna pile that together by hopefully again the end of the week. But honestly, I've been in the swing of things throughout Christmas, getting stuff done. But now it's like today was the day where it's like, oh, everyone's kind of back. Like I feel like I've been doing a lot of stuff during the break, but January 2nd, it's like, oh, you're getting all those emails, you're getting everybody. So it's always an interesting time to get back in the swing. But
believe it or not, I didn't put my comics in any boxes. I organized them into companies and stuff like that. Something that was thinking, oh, I got plenty of time to put this stuff away, and I never put it away. I just organized it. So it's just weird when you get out of your routine. It's just everything is so messed up.
The past like year or two, I've not had time to organize the books. I've had them in boxes, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna put them there. That way, they're safe. They're in a box, and ever since I started doing that, now they're just not organized. I'm like, oh, at least they're not hanging around. But I kind of wish I knew where everything was. I don't have that luxury as much as I used to. Because I remember when I was in college, I used to organize that month, like the month I was off. I'd be like, all right, this is the time where I'll like put everything in boxes and organize it by title and stuff like that. And over the couple of years, I would say the past 5 years, I've not had an opportunity to organize by title anymore. It's just like, all right, they're going in the box. I guess I kind of know what's in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if you ever just decided to sell your collection outright and you're just
Oh
like, I have
man.
no idea what the hell is in what? Here you
It'd be
go.
another job. Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my
I'm glad I'm
God.
not in that position. The only things I really do want to sell at some point, because I've never sold anything from my collection. It's just books I don't like. I just like some stuff that I didn't connect to or whatever. Maybe like issue ones. Those are things I'm like, I don't need these. But to go through it, and it's a whole nother job to do it. So
That's funny. Let's get some comments here. Did Brant respond back on
yeah,
the
he said he was coming. So
okay. All right. So let's see what we got here. Let's see. We got
see some questions.
yeah, Get the Key comic is on stream. He's giving us a happy new year. So thank you so much. The name that changes. He says happy new, he says hola, happy new year. I was like, oh yeah, I'm starting shortly. Let's see. Lee Smith says, hey. John says, nice overlay. So that's cool. You can thank Brant for that. He's the one that came up with that one.
He
Also
did all the
asking where
work.
Brant is. Like we said, he is coming. Highland Low Roller says, comic fam. Steve says, made it to the show. Welcome, Steve.
Too. We were
Neighborhood.
surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Neighborhood Merc says, happy new year. I'm watching from Brazil this week. I picked up a few
Nice.
comics in Portuguese. Pretty cool, I
Portrait
think. That's
Portugal, I guess it was
awesome.
supposed to be.
What's that?
I think it's supposed to be Portugal, but it's probably like
Oh,
an
okay.
auto correct. We also have some
Autocorrect.
questions. Yeah, here you go.
Here's John says, Mike, where'd you get that hoodie? So
Oh,
they sell this hoodie at Target. It's actually brand new. Like I think they just started carrying it after Christmas. So that's
oh,
just the way it
nice.
is.
That's
Because it
so.
wasn't there. I literally go to Target like every week. And
Target's a fun place to just. I also want to correct for the Portugal. I think they mean they bought books that they literally in the language of Portuguese that they can read
okay.
it. I like that makes more sense. But go on with the hoodie.
The hoodie was I think it was brand new at the shop, at the store, and at Target. And believe it or not, it was only $26. So for $26, it's pretty reasonable price, and it's not cheap. Like it's actually it like keeps you warm,
It looks
So and
good.
it looks great. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, I had to get it, and my wife was like, all right, I'll get it for you. It's not always easy to convince my wife to buy things. So it's kind of cool.
Rightfully so. Sometimes just like, oh man, you don't want to spend all your bucks, but if it's something you enjoy, then that's always nice.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
we have another question here. Highland Low Roller. If there's a comic shop that sells only back issues and another that sells only current issues, which one would you buy from? I mean, I only mostly buy. Okay, this is definitely more of a question for Mike, but I only buy current issues because I feel like over the years I've bought all the back issues I've wanted, unless it's like a high price thing that I see like at a convention or whatever. Then I'm like, oh, I want to get this one. But when you've been doing the hobby for a long time, I feel like, all right, these are the comics I want. This is the Spider-Man book I want. This is like the Kitty book I've liked. So I like the new comics more. That's just for me. But I think there's importance to back issues too.
I have to go to both separate stores.
It
That's
made
what
two
I
trips.
would because it's like I have to get the new comics that I like
Want to
new
continue the
Amazing
story?
Spider-Mans, even if it was just like the very bare minimum that say I only read 2 or 3 titles a week. No matter what, I would still read Amazing Spider-Man, no matter. And then like I like collecting like the older stuff as well. Like and I don't go too much like digging in the back issues per se at my store because all the better stuff is behind the counter. So it's just like, so I usually look there first behind the counter before I go into the back issues. Because if I'm going to spend some money, I want to get something like decent. You know what I'm
Yeah, and
saying?
I feel the same way. If I'm getting a back issue, it's going to be something that's a pricier back issue because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's something I've always wanted in the collection. Then like, here's this 2 cent book from
Yeah.
25 years ago. And again, I've done that before. I've gotten a lot of those books already, unless it's you know a gem I don't know about. But
Right.
I'll read that somewhere else. If it's a gem I don't know about, it's not really about the collection. It's more like I want to read that, and I'll read it like on Kindle or something.
Yeah, like I
And
most recently got an old school like Silver Surfer book from the 60s or whatever it was. And not that I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan, I just like the old style of comic.
I do want to also welcome Brant onto the stream. Hello, Brant. We were
Yes,
Hey,
talking
what's
Brant.
up, guys?
about we were talking
Sorry I'm
about
late.
it's okay. I was late too, so the only person who wasn't late was Mike. But we were talking about if you had to go to a comic book store to only buy new comics or old comics, which store are you going to?
Okay. Man, I don't even know what shop I would go to for old comics because I haven't bought old comics in a long time.
Right.
Uh, when the last time I remember shopping for back issues, I was probably doing like eBay lots and stuff like that. But I don't. It's been a long time since I've back issue been like even at conventions. I don't typically do that unless I'm looking for something specific, um, which would probably be GI Joe. If I'm being honest, or Spider-Man. One of those two, like or cross-gen, something like I'm really passionate about is the
Yeah.
stuff that I seek out. But yeah, Heroes and Fantasies in the San Antonio area is where I typically go for new stuff. It's a good shop. They got a couple locations, a really big one in San Antonio, but I don't go to that one. But yeah,
Sometimes
I
the
don't.
really big ones are intimidating because it's like more commercial. Like I like
Yeah,
the ones that JHU is my store. But I like that size because it's big enough where it's like people know the store and it's a popular store, but it's a very mom pa type
yeah,
place.
Yeah.
It's the owners, everyone. Literally, I can't walk down that street without running into someone, and it's a main street in where I live, but I can't go down the street and not see someone I know from the comic book store. It's like, oh man, my comics. Because
Yeah.
obviously it's Wednesday and you're going for your comics. So the probability is you will probably run into somebody, but still you get to know these people throughout the years. And I like stores like that where you don't
yeah.
just get to know the owners, but you get to know, people that buy their comics as well.
I don't
Yep.
know if John Styles here means JHU or Heroes of Fantasies, but cool, either way.
Yeah, tell us which one it is because now I'm
Yeah.
curious. We have Tevye who says, also a question: how do you feel about Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie, being public domain now? Now we're going to get horror movies. Well, as someone who has some books about public domain, I actually follow a lot about public domain, and this has been a conversation for. It's just interesting because now it's in the public domain. People are like, "Wow, this is happening," and this has been a conversation for years. And it's just the look of him. You can't use the word Mickey Mouse. You'll
Yeah.
still
Right.
get sued for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting that because it went into the public domain, now it's a conversation. But this is something that like every public domain in the next 50 years is listed on a website. You can find out what's going to be public domain, and every year there's going to be something new.
Yeah. I just don't like I see a bunch of Winnie the Pooh stuff pop up here and there, and it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like, man,
That's newer.
I would be hesitant to do stuff like that just because it's so iconic.
Yeah.
Right.
It's different than like fairy tale stuff. That's like very broad. There's a lot of different versions of it, but something that specific, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I would be hesitant to do that, but more power to you if you want to do some art
Yeah.
with Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, I feel like that. I agree. There's just such a. I would never say never because I don't want to speak on it and just be like, well, I figured out this
Right.
pitch for Winnie the Pooh. But
Mhm.
um, I think people are jumping on it right away. Like that's the one where I
Yeah.
was like, wait, even Great Gatsby. Like that's been a little while, and when people were jumped on it like the day of, I was like, all right, you want to wait like a month to see like what stories people are putting out there? Do you want to see that first?
Everybody wants to be first. That's the thing. You want to
I mean,
be
that's how
first
you
to
make money,
market.
right? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
for sure. It's like you don't want anyone to steal your idea either. We have a question here. Should New Comic Book Day be Tuesday in 2024 because DC releases on Tuesday? No, I really think that would I think the direct market's already having a hard time. You change the day, I think it's gonna do
Yeah.
worse.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Like at first, it was a big change. Like there was that big talk about it being on Tuesday, and I think they decided to mainly still keep it on Wednesday. But some places release DC comics on Tuesdays. I think it
Mhm.
just depends on the shop because they get their DC comics like way ahead of time. Um, Earlier than like Penguin Random House and stuff like that. Because that's what my shop told me. They actually get those DC books like a week ahead of time.
my
So it's
store,
easy for
my
them to
store,
put them in.
my store releases on Tuesday, but I asked, I was like, well, do people come on Tuesday? And they said like if it's a really, 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 really big book, maybe, but most of the time people just come on Wednesday. It doesn't
right.
really make a big
Because
difference.
they want to get everything at one time.
Even
Right,
the DC,
and-
I think even people who just buying DC want to go on Wednesday.
Right.
I mean, it's decades and decades of like, working that into your life and your schedule and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So it just, yeah, it's weird. The digital versions of DC books go up on Tuesday as well. So
Yeah.
it's like, you want to read them on Tuesday, you'll be able to, but I don't know. It's weird.
It ruins
I
the
wish it
flow.
was
'Cause I'm
all
like,
for
I got to
Wednesday.
read the rest the next day. I'm just
Right.
like, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm just going to read them all on Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right. So
Um,
you guys want to start talking about some comics?
Yeah.
Yeah,
John
comic-
Styles real quick said it was Heroes of Fantasy. So that's cool. Which one in like deep San Antonio, or like in I think the other one's in Universal City. That's the one that I go to.
Oh, very well. Hopefully, you guys run into each other.
That'd be cool.
All
Never
right.
know.
All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about the final books of 2023. And then we're going to dive into, things that we're looking forward to in 2024 and New Year's resolutions, whether they're comic book collecting, maybe something else. And curious to hear what everybody else thinks about their New Year's resolutions when we get to it. So we're going to talk about these
Build up to
comics.
it.
And we were specifically waiting on Brant to come in because the first book we're talking about is a book I'm sure he's been waiting for forever. And that was Duke. Issue 1. And
I'm so curious, Brant. Let's hear
going
it.
to
Sound
kick
off.
it off with Brant first. What did you think?
I thought it was decent, right? It didn't blow me away like Transformers, but I did like the direction that they're taking the character. It's completely different. I did feel like you didn't need a whole lot of G.I. Joe knowledge because they started at the very beginning before G.I. Joe was a thing with Duke. But they established kind of his, I don't know, just it's a little bit of a different take on Duke, but still that same demeanor is there, that he's, a leader. He's going to get the job done, that he's, in the
Is
middle
Duke
of the
G.I.
action
Joe?
always.
Is he the main guy, or who is
He's
Duke?
the leader.
He's the
leader
he's
of
like the
them,
field leader. Yeah. So like
Okay.
General Hawk eventually becomes like the main general over the whole organization, but Duke is the field leader. He's the one out in front of everybody. And
So
the
he's
cartoon,
like the
it was always
Spider-Man
Duke.
of them all. He's the guy everyone
He's like the
likes.
field general,
Yeah,
Okay.
he's kind of like the Captain America. I would
Yeah.
say
Okay.
more apt. Yeah. I'd say Snake Eyes is more the Spider-Man, Wolverine type character.
I feel like that's the character I've heard more often is Snake Eyes.
Yeah. So I like the direction. I like the fact that the book for longtime fans of G.I. Joe gave you sprinkles of stuff that you'd be familiar with, like Mars Corporation is Destro's organization, and they threw in a couple of other Joes at the end and different things like that. They hinted at Snake, meaning Cobra, of course.
Right.
And all that. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was a decent setup. I would have preferred to have been a little bit of a longer issue with a little bit more. I think it ended a little abruptly for me.
Right.
Yeah. I still enjoyed
I think
it.
As someone who's never read any, not knowing who is the G.I. Joe,
Right.
I liked it as a new reader person because I felt like I wasn't really jumping into anything. I was like, oh, I understand because it's a new story, and I like that it was connected to Transformers. Like I like that. Oh, this is a shared universe. That's cool. But it didn't pull me as much as Transformers. Transformers from the get go, like you don't need to be a fan to enjoy that. You will fall in love with that book. Here, it's like, yeah, this is a decent book, but I don't know if I will be reading up to issue 5. We'll see if it pulls me in, but it doesn't feel as desperate as Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was like more of a foreshadowing of what Duke is to become.
Right.
And it's not who he is yet. Right. I mean, it's just like, him a certain way, but you're seeing him in a different way. And he's not really scarred from war yet. He's still training and learning and dealing with things. In fact, you're seeing him taking a break really from war and almost being like in a spy movie. As he is spying on things. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I do like how he suffered this PTSD from seeing his, fellow soldier get splatted and whatnot. The only thing I didn't like, I don't think, was like the person that he went to go see that studies like UFO. It's like she was in and out like super quick. You know what I'm saying?
What I'll say about that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misremembering names and stuff, but her last name, and they emphasized it. There's a GI Joe, a Lady J. I think her name is the same last name. So I wonder if there's a tie in there with that scientist or whatever.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, because then
the art was really good for this book too, so that helped it out. That it was pretty clean art.
And the other Joe we saw was Cover Girl, right?
And rock and roll at the end.
Yes.
And I can't remember the other one. And who was it? It was rock and roll and somebody.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Very end. Yeah.
It was like
Stalker. It was Stalker. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was like the first book I read. But yeah, it was good. It was good. I agree. I wasn't as like taken aback as I was like with Transformers, but this was still really good. I think maybe the difference it's because literally all you saw was basically Duke in this book. And it was cool to see a mix of some of the other characters in Transformers, you know, and it was like really explosive and in your face and emotional at the same time. I didn't really feel that emotion in Duke as I did in Transformers. But again, it was still a really good book, and I can't wait to see the direction it goes.
Yeah, Transformers is more character driven for sure, which like you latch on to those characters like from the first issue. You're like, oh man, I feel bad for this person, this person. Darren Warren Johnson's just so good at doing that. Like every book he writes is just character pieces. So, and not saying Joshua Williamson isn't, but he writes sagas, he writes epics. He likes to reveal things very slowly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you all read the back of it, but he talked about his history with G.I. Joe and stuff like that too. So I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing I'll say for G.I. Joe fans, and this is going to be a minor spoiler, but Destro is the guy that creates all the vehicles, arms, and everything for Cobra. He's an arms dealer. Yeah. And Mercer was in there. He's a guy that becomes a Viper and eventually quits and becomes a G.I. Joe later on. But I don't know if they're going to take that track with him in this, but it's just cool to see little things sprinkled in for the longtime fans as well. So
yeah, it was cool to see Destro. It's like you kind of saw him, but didn't really see him. He was like kind of in the shadows, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that. How many issues is this? Is it for like 4?
I thought it was an ongoing, but maybe this is the mini.
Yeah,
I think it's a mini series.
I thought Cobra Commander was a mini series, and I thought
think
this is the
both.
ongoing.
They might both be.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I know Cobra Commander definitely is. Yeah,
Cobra
I'm curious.
Commander will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Look, everything is new to me.
Yeah. The Cobra Commander thing will be curious to see if they dive into his into Cobra Law and all that other stuff.
Too. Yeah. See which way they take that. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just excited to have people to talk to about G.I. Joe again. It's been a very long time.
All right, cool. So that was pretty good. It seemed like we all liked it, and we're going to continue it and see what happens. All right, so let's talk about Titans Beast World issue 3. So for me, this has been this surprising DC event of 2023, probably the best one that DC has come up with in quite a while. We do get I don't feel like there's a ton of story progression in this, but it's still really good. Like, it's we get to the point now where it's just like, okay, now we're actually fighting Gar and we got to figure out what to do to stop him. And what I do like is just the emotional moments. And that's when Tom Taylor tends to shine in his books, especially these mini series. He has great emotional beats, and the whole thing with Donna in this book was very emotional, and how she's straining and how she's trying to stop, and Raven's getting involved, and just all those different things there. I thought those characters made this book this particular time in my eyes.
I agree. I don't like event books. You guys know that, but this feels, even if it's not exploding for the DC universe, it feels important to these characters. And I think it moves really well. I think the art's good. I don't think this is the best event ever, but I think this is the way to do an event. And it's taking so long. I would say since that Venom event, to just have a standard event that does what events are supposed to do, because they're just so boring most of the time. Nothing happens. There's no character beats, and this just feels like old times, And I've been enjoying it for sure.
Sidetrack. I just found a press release. They're both 4-issue miniseries.
Oh wow,
documentary.
so
Okay,
only
so
4. I don't
there
know
we
how
go.
much they're gonna get done in 4 issues.
Yeah, I
With
don't
this
know.
type of first
It
issue.
could, maybe it'll continue. Maybe it'll be like a volume 1 type of thing, or volume 2, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it'll probably I mean, I know nothing about G.I. Joe, as I told you, but maybe it'll be 4 issues and then it'll go into a flagship book. This is like preludes to like a
maybe.
bigger G.I. Joe
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I would assume that's probably the ultimate goal there. Yeah.
I mean, this is like these books are doing so well. These are like compared, like doing as well as it seems like Batman and Spider-Man, which maybe that's something to say about Marvel and DC too. But it's like these, like Skybound's got some hits here.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As far as Beast World goes, I agree with you both. It's been so surprising because I've talked about it before. I went into this really hesitantly, not knowing what I was going to
Like
think.
every event.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just based on Titans, and now it's just really good. And even Titans was good this week because of it. Better than it has been since issue 1, I think. But yeah, I really enjoyed Beast World, and just I'm trying to remember everything. I think that might have been one of the first books I read, but
Well, it shows
I
you're
do
excited
remember
for it.
I remember the Donna thing, and that struggle, and everybody filling their roles, and it just felt epic. It felt big. It felt like, okay, we gotta hold the line until such and such gets in place so they can take over. Now I got to go deal with this, and it felt big, and it continues to feel that way, and it's just fantastic. The art is gorgeous.
It's a different artist this time too.
Yeah,
and I didn't even
but it's still
notice
good.
either,
Yeah,
which
it
was
was
really
really
good. Because that you tend to be like, oh man, you have such a big artist on board, and then you get these filler artists, and
Yeah.
no, I really didn't notice in a
Mhm.
good way. So,
And I stayed away from I actually stayed away from the spin-off books, the tie-in
You don't
books.
need
I
'em.
read that one, and then after that, I was done. And
I read. Oh, go on.
I'm
I was just
fine
gonna
with
say,
the series right now.
I was just gonna say Central City was really good.
Gotcha.
The rest of them are just okay.
I read Central City, and I liked certain stories in it, but I just don't love the anthology style for these events.
I thought that was the perfect way to do it though, because they had that one story and everything
They'll weave
flowed
through.
in and out of it. Yeah, it weave through it. And even though it was different styles and different characters and all that stuff, it all fit together really nicely. I really
It might be just because I'm so disconnected with Flash right now. It's just like, I
Maybe.
feel like it was definitely a structure I liked more, but there was no character beats where I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I'm like, oh, I believe that was the issue where Jay's on a date with Animal Girl. I was like, oh, I guess that's cool. But I definitely think it was better in Gotham. I did not like Gotham at all. And then I stopped reading them because I'm like, I don't think the only one I might read, I will read is Star City, because you don't get a lot with Green Arrow. So
Gotcha. All right. So we tend to like Titans Beast World, so that's good. So Brant and I read Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is issue 14, the Gang War tie-in. I feel like it's a pretty solid tie-in. I like the characters that are involved in it. We got we have who is it? Hobgoblin and the Prowler are inside of it now. Overall, it's a pretty solid story. The one thing that this book is, it's so busy when you read it. There's so much going on. Like, you're just like, holy crap, what the hell is happening in this book? It's just like stimulation overload,
Yeah, it definitely is that. It's hard with this book because I think there are some issues of this run that have been phenomenal. Then we had the Blade, the little sidetrack.
Yeah.
And this is, I appreciated that they tied in stuff that's going on in the main story with him, with the Cape Killers and all that stuff, and with Misty Knight and Colleen and stuff. But at the same time, like you said, it's so much going on that it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. And at the same time, this issue and like the past couple of issues have been like really repetitive on certain aspects of it. And this one, it was him and Aaron. him and Prowler, going back and forth. Tell me the truth, Unc. No,
Yeah.
you don't need to know the truth. Tell me the truth, Unc. No, it just kept going back and forth, back and
Right.
forth. And I was like, come on, guys. You said this like 3 times now. Stop
And
it.
it's the same thing with the
Yeah.
with them fighting the who is it? The what do they
The
call
Cape Killers?
themselves? The what?
Cape Killers.
Yeah, the Cape Killers. It was the same thing. It was just like, let us fight. No, and we're actually people that Luke Cage allows us to fight. And you're like, okay. And then
Yeah.
there was another couple things that were repetitive. Oh, how many times is he gonna fight that freaking speedster girl?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
So Hightail. And
Yeah.
and then the relax and breathe stuff. That is brought up a lot
Right.
since that one issue. Yeah.
But it's not bad though. Like so, like this one
No.
is better than it's better than the Blade story, and
Yeah,
it ties
absolutely.
in pretty good. It's just
Mhm.
like I said, it's kind of like all over the place right now.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping after Gang War it slows down and finds its focus again.
Right,
But
right.
not a bad issue.
All right, so moving on, then we'll go on to our number 5. So, Kat, what was your number 5?
Mine was Duke. We already talked about it already.
Let's just like that. All right, Brant, what's yours?
Mine was Batman Santa Claus Silent Night number 4.
The end.
That was
The
mine
end.
too.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite as good as the previous issues. I think 1 and 2 were probably the strongest, but
I
Yeah,
agree.
it was still a fun book. All through and through, this was something I was not expecting to be anything, and I absolutely loved the book as a whole. And it was a nice wrap up. It was a nice little closure to the whole thing, and everybody's happy and back in place and all that stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's a definition of a popcorn flick where it's like, it's not so substantial, but there's some good character
Yeah.
moments there. This one didn't have as good of art as the previous issues. That's kind of brought it down a little, but yeah, I hope they do this more. And if they're doing weekly books, do stuff like this where you could tell they worked on this like 5,000 months ago and they're just
Yeah.
releasing it. But there's
Yeah.
some weekly books where you're like, man, you're working on this right now. and it's not as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This wasn't, I mean, obviously this is the ending of it. So it was like, oh, how are you going to wrap this up? And it was just a quick wrap up. But when I put this on my number 5, I was like, I'm basically almost like kind of grading this book based off of the overall, 4
Yeah,
issues.
exactly.
And
Right.
and it was just a nice little wrap up, an overall great series. And it was a surprise. Like, I don't think any of us expected this book to deliver the way that it did, especially that opening issue, because to grab you on an opening issue in a 4-issue series that has to do
Yeah.
with freaking Santa Claus, you got to
Right.
really wow some people, right? So
I hardly
thought
knew
it
this
was
book
good.
existed when it first came out. I was like, is this an anthology? Is this like this winter thing? And then I was like, oh, it's actually a miniseries. I got, it was a light week and I picked it up and I was like, oh man, I'm glad I did because this could have slipped your radar so easily.
I mean,
Yeah.
the scratch and sniff cover is the one that really, got me reading this book. First my guy at the comic shop, he was like, "Oh, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun." He's like, "I read a few preview pages." I'm like, "All right," I just put it on my pull list. And then I got that cover and I looked at the art inside. I'm like, "Oh man, this looks really good." And then it really delivered, man. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
So then let's move on. I am very curious to hear what Brant has to say about World Tree issue 6. So this is the beginning of a new story arc, and man, I felt lost. I really felt lost. I only remembered the person with the eye patch.
Yeah, I barely remembered her. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this book anymore, to be honest. It's I just wasn't into it for some reason. It wasn't even gone that long. It was like a couple of months, right?
Yeah, but the thing is the story is very intricate and there's a lot of
Yeah.
characters.
It's better for trade.
Yes, there's a lot of characters involved, and you got to a pretty huge cliffhanger at the end of issue 5 when you
Yeah.
found out who she was, and then it just completely like changed. Like, I don't even know like who the characters are in the mirror. You didn't even see the main character. Like, you didn't even see her, the person, in the entire issue. I mean, I get that the world is messed up right now, right? Because there is no self-service, nothing is working. And they're forced to rely on like, old school TV and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. But just like the characters themselves, I'm having a struggle trying to follow.
Yeah, like the character that was at the cabin. At first, I couldn't place who that person was, and then
Right.
like, yeah, and then I think by the end of it, I'm like, maybe that was that person. Still not 100% sure.
Right.
And the main characters, the ones behind this whole thing, weren't even in this issue,
Yeah.
except for in a flashback.
Right.
So yeah, I was a little bit lost with this, and I definitely think it's a trade thing because there's, like you said, it's very intricate. There's a lot going on, but you have to like pay very close attention to who everybody is to follow this. And unfortunately, this one kind of left me scratching my head a little.
Yeah. It's almost like the Nice House on the Lake. It suffers from that
Yeah.
type of thing,
Right.
And I think that's how it is sometimes with independent books where you have a lot of characters.
Yeah.
They tend to, if it takes a break, you're going to forget. And that's why I feel that it's imperative to have a little synopsis of like what happened in the previous issues and who the
Agreed.
characters are and stuff like that. That would take the comic and take it and make it go a long way, right?
Yeah.
Recap.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the old school thing of, and we see it sometimes now too, where they have, like you said, the character heads, and this is who's in this story and that kind of thing,
Right.
so you can reference it.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to continue to see if I can remember these characters, but same thing though.
Yeah.
If it doesn't like get that momentum back for me, then I might unfortunately drop it because I really
Yeah.
like the first 5 issues of this.
Right.
All right, so now we're moving on to Spider-Woman issue 2. What did you guys think?
This is the first Spider-Woman comic in a while I've not liked. I just think it's generic, and I like the art, but I just don't really love the connection to gang war. I'm interested in her losing her son, but it doesn't really focus on it that much. I want to give it another issue because I like Jessica a lot, but this isn't as strong as we've seen her character. And honestly, the last 5 years, she's had a great series.
Yeah, I'll agree. There have been other series that have been better. I still like this one. I like that the tie-in to Gang War makes sense with her, and her story isn't lost because of it. So I appreciate that. And you got hints that her baby does still exist and is around, so that's cool. I don't know. I'm still enjoying it, but I understand where you're coming from with that.
To tell you the truth, I don't even remember basically what happened in this comic. I just know that I think like Hydra or Diamondback knows where the baby is.
Yeah,
or
Hydra does.
Yeah. And Madam Hydra was in this, so Viper was in this book as well.
Window I just saw. I was like, what was the cliffhanger of that book? False.
And what? She falls, yeah.
She falls because what was the cliffhanger?
She falls as Viper saying, "You'll never see your baby again."
Right. Yeah.
So it's just like, this is like one of those books where it's just like Kat said, I've read much better, Jessica Drew books, but I'm not going to count out this series. If it's an ongoing, I'm not going to count it out until like her story gets going and it gets away.
I don't think it is an ongoing though. I think it is a mini series. And if it isn't, if they're continuing Spider-Woman, I think we saw it was going to be a different artist. I don't remember what. I feel like it was revealed that this is not the final stages of Spider-Woman, but I don't remember. We do have a question from Nathan here. Just joining the stream. Do y'all do top 10 of 2023? So we did 2 weeks ago. we did a stream where we talked about the best of. So we just talked about comics we really, really liked. On my channel, I did a top 10 of 2023, so you guys could check that out. But yeah, for the group, we just did that instead. Makes things a little easier, and we get to talk more. And we talked about a lot of books. So
Steve said it's an ongoing.
okay, so it is an ongoing. Maybe I saw it was a different artist. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Corolla's on it long term, but I could be wrong.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about Green Arrow issue 7. So this is basically
new direction.
Originally, Green Arrow was supposed to end, right? And then right away it wound up getting extended. So this is like the second story arc to this. And here we wind up getting Ollie getting back to the main Earth. And it's a really good jumping on point for the readers because it's kind of telling you, you know, what's been going on with him, what's been going on with the Justice League, how everything has changed. I can't believe this has happened. So I thought it was a nice jumping on point, like I said. And then obviously then he's trying to find out what's going on with Amanda Waller, and they're spying to find out what happened with Roy, right? Is that, if I remember correctly there, he's teaming up with his Connor, right?
Yeah,
and
Connor.
Yeah, to find out with what happened with Roy Harper, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree. I think it was a good jumping on point with that. And I think that the Justice League being gone was really interesting. I like this issue more than some of the later issues of that first arc. Because again, it feels like as a direction, it feels like, yeah, it feels new. Because I think it's starting to get a little stale, the Elseworld stuff with Green Arrows. I like this one a lot.
I like how he was with Hal in the portion of this issue as well.
Yeah, that was a really good scene too. The things they talked about and just like what they've gone through, and everything feels very connected because of that, which I guess makes sense if Williamson's writing this book. He's kind of this centerfold of DC Comics right now.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was definitely needed to get beyond the world jumping stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now we're searching for Roy. And so I liked elements of it. I didn't love it as a whole, though, because it felt like a lot of, him just going to this character, that character, this character, what's going on, that kind of thing. But
that's why I felt like it was a jumping on point. If you did not read those first few issues of it, it got the reader caught up. But I think as a fan, or if you started from issue 1, it could have been repetitive for you.
Right. I just looked up, and it looks like Corolla's on through at least issue 5.
Okay. I think that's the first arc.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know beyond that, but anyway.
All right. Well, let's move on to number 4. What was your number 4, Mr. Fowler?
My number 4 was Titans. Number 6. Yeah. This book just got put up a notch because of Beast World, I think. So gotcha. It's just better. I believe, if I'm not mixing it up with Beast World, that it was about Tempest and the Church of Eternity and all that stuff, right?
It was about it was about Starfire and yeah.
Okay. Was Tempest in Beast World then?
I think
Tempest was involved somewhere. I'm getting them mixed up. I know it started off with Starfire and doing a flashback about her and her sister. Yeah. Okay, so and then Tempest breaks into basically walks through the front door of Titans, and like there's a doctor there and knows Dick's identity and is treating his concussion and all that stuff, and they're trying to save Tempest from Eternity, and all the beasts break into Titan's tower, and then this mentor from Starfire's past shows up for some reason and all that. And so it was solid. It was definitely better than what we had been getting prior to Beast World. So,
I liked Beast World so much that this felt so much lower to me, because they were going through a lot of the same beats as Beast World. I'm like, well, I just read Beast World. I don't need to read it here. I just like Beast World a lot more than this issue. But
of course.
Yeah. And then Starfire, I read that Titans one shot with her that I thought did a lot better job of like her planet and where she's at. So I was like, oh, I was comparing it to that too. So didn't love this issue, but like in Beast World.
Gotcha.
Cool. My number 4 was Green Arrow. So we just talked about that. All right. And Kat, did you go?
No, I don't think I actually did. It was Silent Night. I felt like I went because we already talked about the comic.
Gotcha.
But...
All right, cool. All right, so we got all those. So let's move on to number. Oh no, not number. We're on Carnage. Carnage issue 2.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that read it.
No, I actually did read it right before the show.
Oh, did you? This one was
forgot
boring though, man. This one was.
I like this one better than the first.
Did you? It was boring because it's just a lot of. It's not that I disliked it. It was just a lot of blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh my god! But the reveal at the end was quite interesting. I did not expect that.
Yeah, I didn't love the first issue. I know you like the first issue better than I did. So it was weird. You know, we're feeling different things with this book. But there was a lot of talking. You know, especially with just Cletus talking to Carnage. So that was a lot. But yeah, that reveal of the other Cletus was interesting. Yeah, I don't know where they're going with this now, but and Flash's whole dilemma with like I don't know, he's trying to piece it together and doesn't think anybody believes him and all that stuff. But
and he's getting this intel from it was Liz, right? That showed up.
Yeah, it was Liz.
Yeah, Liz showed up, so he's getting intel from her. And there's this little love story brewing with Flash and the bartender.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, do we need that? Like, what's going on there?
It's very Rick Grayson going on here, huh?
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to continue to read it. It took a lot to get to where it needed to get to, and just him rambling on the whole time. So we'll see. All right. So we talked about Batman Santa Claus. So we did that one. And now we're going to talk about Holy Roller. So this issue was interesting too. And so I have a little bit of an issue with this book because
Me too.
the first issue I actually liked better. This second issue didn't really make a lot of sense to me because this guy winds up beating the people up with the bowling ball, right? And it made it sound like I thought that the police were going to go after him, but then they come back to go kick his ass. And then he gets more bowling balls and just is just like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to beat the shit out of you anyway. There's no way some guy is going to live after getting his head smashed in with bowling balls. How do you accidentally throw a bowling ball at a police officer, by the way? And then if it's self-defense, right? Don't you think there's witnesses right there that would say, hey, these guys came into our house and tried to defend himself? Like, the dad is totally clueless on what's going on. It's just so all over the place. It was just like, and then he goes running. Like, I don't know, man. This is just, I was okay with the first issue. This second issue is just really off the wall for me.
I don't know where it's going. Like, I know the pitch was that he's a vigilante bowler, and I've not really seen much of that. And then this issue, it's very action heavy, but it's also saying nothing, and it doesn't feel connected to that first issue. I think I'm done. I really was sold on that premise, but this book has it doesn't reminisce the pitch here.
Right. It just it doesn't connect to the first issue whatsoever.
Right.
It's just guys coming to beat him up. And at first I thought they were the police coming to look after him because he was all over the news. But instead they come and then the police come. And they're the father and the best friend were the ones that called the police to begin with to the house. You know, so I don't know. It was just weird. I don't know how you accidentally throw a bowling ball again and hit a police officer to the point where he's just like, hey, that's it. I'm going to shoot your ass now. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, a bowling ball is like 10 pounds, dude. You just don't launch them in the sky like that and take out some cop's knee. It's just weird. Oh, man. All right, so let's move on to number 3. Brant, what do you got?
Duke. So we already talked about it.
And Brant, that was my number 3 also.
Nice.
Yes. Kat?
Mine was Green Arrow, so we already talked about it.
Gotcha. So we're pretty close here, guys. So let's move on now and talk about, well, we talked about Titans, right? I mean, are we good with that conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I'm done.
Here we go.
I think I'm
Sorry.
officially done.
I
think
like
don't blame
this
you.
book. I like this issue. I
don't.
really enjoyed this issue. I
How
like
long
this
did
issue.
you time yourself on how fast it took to read this book?
Like
I
what?
think that's
30
what
seconds?
I like about the book, because there's so many books that are so dense. I'm just like, this is a quick read. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation between.
Dense. There's nothing that is you want to talk about a book that accomplished nothing? This book accomplishes nothing. Nothing at all.
They had a good conversation. I think She-Hulk and Hulk had a good conversation with each other. I enjoyed that. I
It was barely a conversation.
There was a box. There was a narration box.
That also might be confusing issue 2 a little bit more too. But no, I like learning a little bit about the. No, they had their little conversation.
No,
count the box.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Look at all that.
Look, there is. Let's count. No, we got a couple of pages here. We got 1, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages of them talking.
Yeah, and
well, it's She-Hulk talking and Hulk just saying, "Don't steal blood." Bye.
I enjoyed seeing that. I like that it was a little different. I have not been enjoying the romance portion. I'm like, all right, we're staying away from that. We're getting some Hulk stuff. I think at least they're connecting it to that previous series with Girl Hulk. I don't know what her name is, but I like this issue. I thought it was solid. I look, do I love this series? No, but I like this arc a little bit more. I'm enjoying this arc more.
She likes being a Hulk and she wants to be a Hulk. April is her name, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And the husband was trying to cure her, and just like that, she smashes it, and that's that. So it's just, but it doesn't do anything. This book doesn't go anywhere. There's no character growth whatsoever. Like you put these villains, you put these people back in this book, right? And if you didn't read the last volume, you have no freaking idea who the hell they are and how they got to this point. You would be a little
lost,
right? So you would be lost. And just as they come in, they're just out once again. And so for these 2 or 3, how many was it? 1 issue was she in? Was it the last issue? I don't even remember if it's
that
2 or 3
the
issues.
girl. Yeah, I think it was last issue. And that's
2,
it.
Right? Is it 2?
Yeah, this is the second one.
Okay.
No, this is issue 3, but issue 1 was like nothing to do with this arc. It was like this
weird.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it was this weird prelude issue, and then 2 and 3 actually started it.
I think I'm done. I just like you with Holy Roller. It just doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, you stuck around with this book for a really long time. I gave Holy Roller
I love
2
the
issues.
Character. I love the character, but she's not doing the things that. She's not doing the things on why I fell in love with her to begin with. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I need to see her interact at her job. I need to see her interact with other people. I don't want to see a love story. I want to see her be She-Hulk. And I just don't feel like we get enough of that, you know? Now, you might get that in the next issue because she's all over TV and she represents people and this and that. But I don't know. I think if I buy a book, it's going to be because of a cover only. And maybe if I get that cover, then I might check it out and I might read it. But for an ongoing thing, I just don't think I can do it. I just can't. I mean,
you gave it a fair shot. So I'm sure Sheila will get another run at some point. I'm sticking around. I liked it.
I might be done.
I'll be the only one talking about She-Hulk on the stream. In the rarity when it does make my top 5, I'll be talking about it.
I mean, I don't mind certain aspects of this book. I didn't mind the love story. I just
wish we had Runaways instead. Like I will say that. Like I'd rather Rainbow and Andreas be working on a Runaways book.
Well, yeah. It's just any story that's told in this book is taking full center stage. And if it was broken up a little bit more, I think it'd be a little bit more interesting. But this issue was like, why am I reading this?
Right.
That's what this issue made me feel. I was like, why am I reading this? And I literally, even I knew it would be a short book, and I had just like a really short amount of time when I read this. I was like, I need something really short, and it was too short. I was like,
But I
man,
like
I
that
still got
little
time.
palate cleanser. I like that palate cleanser of like, this will take me 5 minutes compared
But I
to
still
like,
want substance. As much as these things cost, I still want some substance.
I still
Yeah.
think the Hulk and She-Hulk conversation had some good substance, but
Like if I spent $5 or $6 on a comic and it took me literally a minute and 30 seconds to read the book, I feel like I'm getting gypped off.
it's $3.99.
It just doesn't accomplish anything. Still, even that, I'm like paying $1 a minute for a comic book, basically, and it's just I don't know. It's just too. I can buy something else that I'll enjoy more, unfortunately. And I hate saying that about, She-Hulk, because it's a character I love.
Yeah, I hate saying it about She-Hulk, and I hate saying it about Rainbow, because I do enjoy Rainbow's writing. I didn't like this issue, and it made me rethink. Ever since it came back, I just haven't enjoyed it, and I wasn't loving it before. So now it's like, I got a lot of books.
It just should have never been relaunched. Not after 12 issues or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There was no reason, because there's just nothing different about the book. It's just continued where it last left off.
And then the people who have been enjoying it will continue to enjoy it. And then, I agree. I don't think that should have been relaunched. I don't really understand the purpose of that one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of love for your hoodie tonight, Mike, by the way.
I know.
I know. I appreciate it. This is nice. Like I said, guys, I got this. I'm letting everybody know so everyone can do the Mike Spider Slayer movement here, where you can get this at Target if it's in stock. $26. That's all it was. It was very affordable.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's not like a cheap piece of garbage. It's not like it's thin. It's actually comfortable and it keeps you warm. So good luck if you can find it, because now I'm making everyone buy one. So
your local Target.
Official little bullseye in the corner going forward.
We get a lot of money if we get a little bullseye Target ad here.
Exactly. All right. Where are we at here? Okay, I'm not
Local
reading.
Man. See, this is one I might want to drop soon. This one's kind of lost me a bit, but I really like the beginning of this series, but I don't know where it's going anymore. The girlfriend thing is weird. I don't know. I want to love this book, but I'm just not anymore.
I don't love it, but I do think it's interesting that from the very beginning, apparently, she has been involved in all of this.
Sure.
And I think that's
an interesting
slow twist.
Don't you think it's slow the way they were revealing it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also appreciated what the kind of visual thing they did, where they had him continuing as he's tripping, continuing talking like over all the ads and over the whole backstory and all that. The character, they had his balloons over like all the ads for like Hack and Slash and all this stuff, and continuing the story throughout it. Since Mike, you dropped it, right?
Yeah, I think a while ago.
Yeah. So I was just explaining it for Mike. So I thought that was a cool little thing. It was fun. But it's very slow. It is very slow, and I don't know where it's going either. But I just like that element with her. So
I'm going to give it a couple more issues. Obviously, if it's a week like this, I think I would probably be like, oh, I'm dropping this, because it was a big week. And you kind of have to decide what you want in that regard. But if it's a week like tomorrow, I'd probably pick up the next issue.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
If it was a small week, maybe I'd still pick up She-Hulk. I mean, you never know, because I'm getting like 9 books tomorrow. So
because you're like, why not add another one and see where it goes? Because it's never great to go to the comic store and you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm not reading much. And that's how I picked up that Santa Claus book. I remember it was a week like tomorrow where I was like, oh, I'm not getting much. Why not just throw it in? And I'm happy I did. I really like that book.
Cool. All right, so now we move on to number 2. So I have not been keeping up with this book, so it's JSA issue 8. So what do you guys think?
I enjoyed it.
I like it, but I feel like it's so catered to a certain DC fan. You have to love the JSA to love this book, because I like this book, but I don't think I can love this book. Ever since Huntress left, I'm like, there's no POV character anymore. It's just it's not bad. I will continue reading it, but I don't love it.
Wasn't Huntress still in it?
But she's not the main
Huntress was still
character
in it.
anymore.
No,
she's not the
she's not the
POV
main-
character.
No, but I really like Huntress, and I like Stargirl, and I like certain characters in the book. I'm not the hugest JSA fan, like classic JSA, but there's enough in this book to keep me interested. So I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was quite as strong as the first arc yet, but you know, it's only first issue. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
I also realized I don't think we did our number 2s, because I was like, did we do our number 2s? I don't think we did.
Oh my, yeah,
No, this
my
is
bad.
No, this is the one after. So this is.
Oh, okay.
I
thought this was Mike's number 2. I was really confused.
No,
yeah.
he's like, I didn't read it, but it's my number 2.
I got up to the number 2 portion on the doc as I was scrolling, and then I totally forgot to talk about it. Number 2. It's probably a book we already talked about anyway. My number 2 is Titans Beast World issue 3. That's my number 2. What's your number 2?
Yeah, mine is She-Hulk, and I stand by it.
Yours is
It was a solid issue.
Okay.
It wasn't number 1, but it's a solid book.
Mine's actually a book we haven't talked about, which is Amazon's Attack number 3.
Oh wow, I am surprised by that.
I really enjoyed
the series. This issue I thought wasn't as strong as the previous ones, but if you like Wonder Woman and you enjoy these characters, you will enjoy this book.
See, I really enjoyed this issue. I thought this was a really good
You like
issue.
this one more than the other ones?
I think so. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, because it feels like it's been forever.
The other ones, I know they met up in the first issue. I remember really liking the second issue, and I don't remember what happened, but they interact really well. I think they have some fun interactions. This one I felt like went maybe a little bit too much to Themyscira, but I mean that's what the book's about. So
I liked the mystery aspects where they think that certain god is behind all this, and they find out, oh, it's not her. There's more to the story and than we know, and all this stuff. And Yara continuing her, don't call me Wonder Girl kind of stuff, and everybody kind of doing their own thing, but at the same time working towards this singular goal. I like all the characters involved. I like Mary Marvel being in this book.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it supported that overall story with the Amazons pretty well also. So
we also have a question here. John says, are you going to read Jason Aaron's run on Action Comics? I'm going to read issue 1. Yeah, I'm going to try it out. But I feel like it's one of those books, if it doesn't catch me, I won't feel bad if I don't get issue 2.
Yeah. Like it's going to be a full story again, right?
I think so, but I feel like it's different.
Bizarro and stuff.
Different writers are doing different arcs, though, I think. So Jason Aaron's just doing an arc, and I think then someone else is doing an arc.
Well, I don't have a problem with that as long as it's like a full,
not 3 stories every issue.
Yeah, no, it will be like a full arc, and I think then someone else is picking it up, which is kind of cool. I think it was a while ago that was released.
All right, cool. All right, so
now we're on
the next
Shang-Chi, which I'm shocked that you guys.
Hands of Kung Fu Gang War issue 1. Why couldn't they just call it Shang-Chi issue 1? Like
you would think that would sell it more because it's like his name.
Deadly Hands of Kung Fu Gang War issue 1. Let's just keep going with this title. It's so freaking long. I mean, this book for me was okay. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Right. Yeah.
It just got a little bit annoying because he's just like, oh, what would my father do? Oh, I don't want to, because he got into the whole thing about, not being caught off guard and making sure that he does the right thing in a war and not betray, his people and stuff like that. But then you got the typical, it was kind of very cliche where you get the typical person that's closest to them that wants the rings and wants to be in charge and wants the war to happen and feeling that Shang-Chi is soft. So that's where I felt it was cliche, and I've read this type of story 1,000 times before, but it wasn't horrible.
Not only that, it felt very much like when Daredevil took over the Hand. It felt and when he was trying to redeem all the villains that he broke out. It was a very similar story in that. But what I did like was that it explained why Shang-Chi is even involved in this to begin with, because everything else we've seen of him so far just made him look like an evil, like he just flipped sides. And so at least
Right.
this explained that. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either.
Right.
So,
I don't know how it's going to continue to get better. Like, is it going to get better? Or is it just going to get cheesy? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
What I would have loved to see, to tell you the truth, is instead of him like defeating the guy that tried to take over everything, I would have loved to see him actually Shang-Chi be defeated and locked up or something of that nature, to where those people did take over the turf of Chinatown.
And he would
and
actually have to join the heroes. Yeah.
Right.
That would have been better. Yeah.
You know, and then how does Shang-Chi get out? Like, how does he, get out of a tough situation like that? Like, actually have the bad guy win. That's what I would love to see.
Yeah.
So I like Shang-Chi game more better.
Yeah, I dropped it too. I feel you.
All right. So with that being said, let's go to our number one. And Brant, what was yours?
Beast World.
Me too.
Not mine. Mine was actually a book that you guys don't read.
She-Hulk.
So mine was no, god damn. That was like, it could have been like almost last. I read like 18 books, but yeah, I can't get over She-Hulk, man. I just was like, that's it. And I was like, toss it to the side. It was like, I couldn't believe it. But my number one was Gunslinger issue 1. Issue 1. Gunslinger.
I was like, did it restart?
I was like, I knew it was going to be Gunslinger Spawn though. Either way.
It was a good issue. It really, really was. So it was a story about Javier, which is his name, about rescuing this guy. I think his name was Carl. It's such a weird name. I could be wrong. And back in the 1800s or whatever it was, and it's just like he saved them from a bunch of bad guys and this and that, and it looks like they were going to team up, and then all of a sudden you get to see this guy power up, and he becomes this like cybernetic freaking cowboy, and he freaking takes a gigantic tree from the ground and smashes Gunslinger Spawn with it, and it just was like, it was just so cool though. You want to talk about like fun comic books. That's just what Gunslinger Spawn is. He's like a version of like Clint Eastwood and Wolverine. That's just basically like what he reminds me of, and Spawn, when you combine these characters together. And there's a new artist on it. Like Brett Booth doesn't do the artwork anymore because he's transitioning over to the regular Spawn comic series. And the artist now is Dexter Soy. And let me tell you, man, he doesn't miss a beat. It looks so good. So good. And it's top-notch stuff, man. Really great comic at the end.
Did you see Federico Sabatini's doing a cover for that upcoming?
Oh.
I forget which issue, but yeah. He tweeted it out today, so I saw it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. So so Gunslinger Spawn for me was probably the book where I closed. That in Titans Beast World were like almost like, honestly, next level books for me. I really enjoyed them this week.
Yeah, no, Beast World, it was one where I read it. I was like, yeah, this is going to be pick of the week. It was just, and it was a weird week because there's a lot of filler books that came out this week. Yeah. So it's just like, well, this is an issue 3 of an event, or like this is, She-Hulk's out, and, things that people, if you're reading them, you're going to read the next chapter, but there just wasn't many big books besides Duke. So when I read Beast World, I was just like, yeah, this is just what I want.
Yep.
I'm sure Gunslinger was the same as you mentioned.
Right. All right. So I guess now it's going to be time to talk about, topic time here, where we're going to be discussing, some of the books that we're looking forward to, or some of the series that we might be looking forward to,
and
New Year's resolutions. I want to hear that in the comments section as well, too.
We should
So,
mention that we are skipping news for the week, just that way we could give this topic a nice meaty try, and then next week we'll go back to the news. So, but yeah, where do we want to start? We want to talk about books that excite us. What are
yeah.
some? I mean, I feel like we're all gonna say Ultimate Spider-Man because it's just like,
Of course.
well, you know, we obviously want to see those characters together. I'm a little nervous because of the Hickman aspect of it. I feel a little reserved in that regard, but obviously that's the book where like that's a huge book that comes out.
I would say that the Ultimate Universe in general, for me, I want to see not only Spider-Man, but I want to see how that universe continues to flourish, because I feel like it's very important. I feel like that can either grow really nice or it could just
Be a Krakoa.
falter apart, you know, kind of like it did before. And then the only book you read is Spider-Man, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Black Panther and you have X-Men. I think will be interesting. Like, is there a reality that Black Panther and X-Men are better than Spider-Man? So I'm so fearful. Obviously, the concept of Spider-Man is so good, but Hickman, he doesn't. He's not the writer I would have. Yeah, he's not someone I would pick for Spider-Man.
But what do you think though with X-Men? Because X-Men is done by Peach Momoko. It's just such a different art style.
It is,
right?
And she did like that Demon Day stuff and all the other series, but the art style and like, how do you, if you were to like have these people cross over with each other or have a universe together, you can't have Peach Momoko's artwork with, you know, Spider-Man in there. It's just completely different.
I think what Marvel and comics in general need is this idea of how do you catch as many people as you can. And it's really hard to do that with like a Peach Momoko, who is a little bit more, has dedicated fans, has like kind of a cult following. And then same thing for Hickman. He doesn't make everybody happy. So it's just like, that's the weird thing. He's not a Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor, not, you know, obviously there's people that don't love Tom Taylor's writing, but he is a crowd pleaser. That's what he does. And he tends to do things that are very like, oh, look, I know this character from 20 years ago. We're going to bring him back and make him really cool. And that's the thing that worries about me about the Ultimate Universe in general. They don't really have a Brian Michael Bendis, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we all know how Hickman likes to explain things. That doesn't jive with Spider-Man to me. And it's going to be really weird. Maybe he'll surprise us all. And there's another side to Hickman that we just haven't seen yet, that will be displayed in Spider-Man. But it does make me a little nervous.
15 plus years that he's been writing. Because it's interesting because he has a very similar tone in every single book he writes. It's not like a Tom Taylor. Like sometimes you will read a Tom Taylor book and be like, oh, I didn't know that's the direction you wanted to go in. I'm trying to think of another writer that might be a better example than Tom Taylor, where you're like, wow, I read this and I would never expect that this person would. Maybe Joshua Williamson.
Joshua Williamson. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good example of like you read Dark Ride, and that's a really different book than Green Arrow or
Birthright,
Superman
or
Birthright. Yeah, he writes so many different tones. Yeah. He's great. Yeah. Hickman, every single book, and you can even say his best books like the Krakoa stuff. It's all the same. It really is. It's just, and also we already read it in Ultimate Universe. If you didn't like Ultimate Universe, which I really didn't like that book very much. I'm like, ooh, we'll see.
Here's a question here, or just a comment from Jeff. He says, right now, 2024 doesn't excite me for comics. 2023 was not a very good year for comic-wise. The industry needs to provide more value instead of bombarding us with events with numerous tie-ins. I would agree.
But also I think it depends on what you're reading, because like I don't think Marvel and DC did a good job, and I'm not trying to go with the Kickstarter train but honestly, like Transformers was a freaking fantastic book. So it's like, I think it depends where you're looking at, because Marvel and DC is events and tie-ins and really needed to fix itself. But there are some good books out this year. A lot of good books out.
I mean, we loved a lot of Image stuff this year. Kill Your Darlings, another one.
Love Kill Your Darlings.
All really love Dark Ride, and you know, there's different books there. Boom is always putting out really solid stuff as well. It just, like you said, it depends. Marvel and DC are very heavily event driven, and you know, with Marvel specifically, they've been misstepping with Spider-Man, and then X-Men has been weird.
Right.
So,
they're trying to slowly get to the point of
yeah,
starting over, and they'll be getting there. So like,
yeah.
so talking about Brant going forward now, like we talked about X-Men, Spider-Man Ultimate. We'll dive into X-Men. Are you excited for this X-Men
No.
era?
No.
I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I would say I'm interested. I'm definitely curious to see where the direction goes after the Fall of Krakoa. Some of the books, like I know somebody in the comments mentioned the Sabretooth War. That actually at least looks interesting. Different things have piqued my interest. Teasers about the next stage of the X-Men and stuff. And
I just feel like I've been burned by the X-Men so much
true.
over the past like 15 years where I get really
Yeah.
excited, and there's nothing even here for me personally where I'm like, wow, that looks really cool that they're doing that. Just like,
Well,
oh
I
yeah,
heard that
Krakoa's
Gail
ending.
Simone is coming back in
Supposedly, but I don't know if it's true or announced. So it's just like until it's announced, like, I mean, yeah, if Gail Simone's coming, I love Gail, and it's been such a long time since she's written a comic, because I know she's been doing a lot of like media stuff. So like,
right.
I think it genuinely needs new voices, X-Men.
And we're getting a new editor. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely going to be a change. Whether it will be for the better, obviously, is still yet to be determined. But this is something that I would say that same thing. I wouldn't be excited for, but I will be optimistic for it.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up.
If you're in that mind frame of X-Men being the X-Men of old, of Claremont days, there's nothing that's ever going to match that ever again.
I don't want it to, though. I just want it to be its own thing.
You want it to be its own thing, and you want a good story. Like when House of 10 and Powers of X, or Powers of X and House of 10, whatever it was, came out in the beginning, that was really good. Like, it was really, really good. And then it just, I don't know, it came out with all these spin-off books and all this other stuff, and it just kind of fell apart, you know? So hopefully,
I mean, nothing was continued from Power X. Like, again, they had all these promises about more, and they did nothing. And I think it was hard. Power X and House of X, when you read it, it's just like, yeah, this is a really good book, but it wasn't like an Immortal Hulk where, again, we could go kill your darling, stuff like that, where I read it and I'm like, wow. Or Transformers, honestly. Transformers is an even better example, because there's everything in that book I should not like. I don't like robot stories. I don't know anything about Transformers, but there's something there that I don't like sci-fi, but there's something there that's just like has heart, and it's everything you want a comic to be. And even Power X was not that for me. Like, I read it knowing this is a good book, but I never read it thinking, well, I'm really excited to read that issue.
Right. Yeah. The whole thing, the only thing that was like really interesting for me, aside from the resurrection stuff, was the Moira stuff. And then that kind of went really off the rails. So,
that's the only thing I really cared about. And I did nothing with it.
Probably the best book for me for X-Men this year was the Gala, when everybody got killed, basically. And then when Kitty Pryde lost her shit and she killed everybody. So I know that was very violent for me to say when it comes to a Marvel book.
It was good, though.
But those are the stories that push the envelope, and they dove deep into the characters' emotions, and things happened. Things were there were stakes involved, and that's what these comics have lacked for a very long time. It's just a lot of stuff is either repetitive or nothing truly happens to the character. Like, we talked about She-Hulk just a little while ago. Like, we had how many issues of She-Hulk, but what has changed about the character at all in the 13 or 14 issues, right? Besides her.
I mean, what's changed since, like, even our last arc where they tried changing stuff with her, like, she's angry now. And Mariko tried to do a story where it's like, well, actually, we're dealing with this PTSD. And I know there's parts that we didn't love, but it's like, cool. Like, she dealt with it. And then the next arc was her and the Avengers doing the same exact thing, that she's angry again. I was like, what? Like, nothing continues. But then you have these little gold mines. One thing I want to mention, this DC comment, but I'll talk about it in a second. It ties in this. You have these little gold mines like Hellcat. I know that Mike didn't love Hellcat. I love that book because it was a continuation of everything you've ever known about Patsy, and it actually made the character grow and still had a very contained story. And I like, and even Incredible Hulk feels like, okay, things are happening here. I'm enjoying that. And I want to mention Steve's comment here. I think DC had a good year for 2023, but Marvel's struggling. What I found really interesting when I did my top 10, I only had one DC book, and that was Superman. And something I noticed was that DC is more consistent, but there's never, besides Superman, a book where I was like, wow, this is the best book ever. Marvel, on the other hand, was very inconsistent, but there's multiple books where I'm like, wow, I love this and I can't wait to go to the comic book store and read it. So I think it's such a weird parallel of like, yeah, you could be consistent and safe, and I think DC's consistent and safe, and Marvel's doing these crazy stuff, but because of that, there's a lot of bad books, you know? Right. So it's just such a weird play where I can't even say either of them are my favorite, because I don't think either of them are producing Skybound level Transformers books.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool though, like good or bad. I love all the conversation we have about these comic books. And I think that's what makes the hobby so great, because the opinions are so different amongst the board for everybody. And whether you like a comic or dislike the comic, I just love these conversations. And that's what makes comics great. I mean, like you guys like Hellcat. I didn't like Hellcat. I like Ghost Rider. You guys didn't read Ghost Rider. And that series just ended this past last week or whatever it was. And for me, it was a phenomenal series. People hated Jason Aaron's Punisher.
And we loved it.
We loved it, you know, and it's just like, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? So I do think there is definitely, like you said, Kat, there's like those diamonds in the rough or the gold mine books. I think
Batman Santa Claus.
I think DC didn't have a great year, but they had a better year. This is probably the best year they've had in quite a while.
Hell yeah.
If you didn't put in that Night Terror nonsense, I think they could have had a good year. But that hiccup there really ruined a lot of momentum for books.
I mean, even look at Green Lantern. It took like an issue or two, a book that is still very phenomenal, but there was like Green Arrow. One issue. Green Arrow also. There are so many books that had such good momentum, and there was only one or two that were able to do it after Night Terror, Superman being one of them. They had the Night Terror stuff, and still somehow it worked. And it's just like, okay, cool. At least Superman's great. I agree. It lost a lot of momentum. But I do, and I want to agree with Steven's comment. I do think DC had a really, really good year. I just want books where I'm really excited, and maybe because I'm such a big Batman fan, it's really hard to not have a Batman book I really like. Even though there's so many Batman books.
I think it's a lot of the other books that came out kind of rose to the occasion, and Batman fell flat. And that's kind of a disappointment, you know.
It's such a weird thing with the creators that they've had on that book, and it hasn't quite hit where it needs to hit, I guess. At least not
Chip Zdarsky, who started out really strong. I was like, oh, where is it going now? I was talking to one of the people that work at my shop, and he was like, oh, isn't Chip Zdarsky's Batman great? And I'm like, yeah, for the beginning. He's like, yeah, but he fell out, went out of space. I'm like, when they went to that alternate universe stuff, I just felt like it fell flat, never got back. And again, not having a Batgirl book, not, the Robin book not being consistent. It's been really hard. But then, like, I'm not a Superman fan at all. And then reading Superman and it being the best book out there is weird to me. But also, like, obviously, I like it. But then, Green Lantern being like a diamond in the rough, too, where I don't think people are talking about it. But I think it's a phenomenal book.
Yeah. And then you got these bad books. Like, you got Power Girl. Like, Power Girl is not a good comic book, in my opinion. Hawk Girl, I don't think that is I think that
more female characters at DC, because I don't think they really have a strong book right now. That
comic should be not a Hawk Girl book, but it should be, was it Galaxy is her name? Is that her name?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely
it should be that. Like it shouldn't be that. There's just other books out there. Cyborg, like that book's still going on. Who reads that book? You know what I'm saying?
Still works.
Steelworks. So it's just like as many.
I like Steelworks actually. I enjoy Steelworks.
I like it. I don't love it.
No, and I kind of like that position of the book where it was just like, oh, it was a fun little book I read in the middle that'll never make my top 5, but like I enjoy just seeing Lana and Steel interact.
Yeah, but that kind of is to your point with DC. It's like there's a lot of that. I like this book. I don't love this book.
So
for sure.
So I want to know for 2024, when is the Justice League coming back? Because I think
I don't know.
that would be a good book for 2024 for that team to come together once again.
I wanted them to just focus on making their solo books good.
Well, yeah, I think we're gonna get Titans for a while. I think maybe mid-year if they do that. But I think they're really trying to build up that Titans brand a little bit. So
I don't know why, but
I don't know. Titans has been a
either.
brand for eons. There's no reason to build that up anymore. Like
I think Tom Taylor has a reason.
Titans, you know,
he's the premier writer at DC right now, and he wants to write Teen Titans. I think that's the reason why that's happening. Or they just don't know what to do with Justice League.
Or maybe they don't rise to the challenge in Beast World and just step in and take back over. Who knows?
That will be an interesting. And I don't know. I do think that Titans, like, that's the whole point of this arc, and I'm enjoying that because of it. Right. But I honestly just want DC to keep releasing cool books and just release fun either mini series or just like things with interesting premises. And I was looking at my top because I did a little top 10 most anticipated list. I don't think there's actually there's 0 DC books on my list. and Lilo and Stitch is on my list, and there's no DC books. Because Marvel just releases so much. Because I'm looking here, they have the 2 Mary Jane books coming out. They got Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen,
Mary Jane,
Power
they got that Thrasher. They got Night Thrasher. I'm excited for. Web of Spider-Man is doing a book where the art on the cover art's done by Greg Capullo, which I think is really cool, and it's going to be highlighting, I guess, future stories of what's coming for Spider-Man. Within the year.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for Thundercats. I want to see.
That one I don't know if I'm gonna. That one I don't think I'm gonna jump.
I've never been a big Thundercats fan myself, so I don't know. I'll try it though.
I think it's a good property for a comic book. I watched the cartoon when I was a kid and I really liked it, but like beyond that, I never really had any of the toys or stuff like that. But I think it can make a good comic if it's written well.
I understand this take on Parker Luck says I refuse to read Tom King's Wonder Woman title because he just breaks the characters he writes, but Wonder Woman is so freaking good right now.
That's one of the books next to Superman.
In a long time. Yeah.
I'm loving Wonder Woman because doing something different. Every issue feels like it's progressing, going somewhere else, building mythology, building characters. And I agree. There's a lot of Tom King books that I'm not a fan of, but this for me is the right track for DC.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to change the subject.
Oh, no, you're totally fine about that. And then the other thing I would say is the continuation and building, like, we were talking about, like, when it comes to the Energon universe or just, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, like how all that stuff continues to build. And then honestly, anything else that Skybound comes out with, like, because I feel like they're doing a really great job right now.
They don't have that many books out, and I think that helps them. They like slowly release books, and I know they do like a lot of Kickstarter stuff, and I'm sure they do stuff outside of the direct market. But
it's so weird they have 2 shared universes going on right now. With the Radiant Black stuff and with the Energon stuff.
I don't think Radiant Black is Skybound. I think it's just Image. Oh, you mean Image as a whole?
Are you sure? I think it.
I'm like almost 100% sure that I think it's just an Image.
I'm wrong about
that. I think you're right, Kat.
Okay, well, either way,
Ghost Machine is going to be great. Is also another one. Ghost Machine is a whole nother thing that's happening. Look, I am a little worried that's kind of like the streaming of comics that's happening right now, and I don't want to say worried because I think it's great. The creators are doing their own thing, and I want to see that succeed more than anything. But I do think there's a lot of new companies, and I'm like, well, what do you choose? What books do you choose? And that's a little worrisome. Where you're like, I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff to pick from right now when it comes to that type of stuff. But Ghost Machine, I'll definitely try it out.
Yep, absolutely. Anything that excites you though, with in DC? Anything?
DC? No, literally cannot. I think because they didn't really release a lot of. They've been teasing a lot of stuff they're doing with that timeline, but I don't think they've released a lot yet. So I just don't think we know a lot of what's coming out.
Yeah.
Amazon lists it as Image Skybound, so I'm not sure.
That's
For
that is
Radiant
so
Black,
weird.
I
Let's
thought
look
it
it
was
up.
Skybound.
Radiant Black Image Comics. I'll look up Skybound, the website. We'll see what
Sorry for
comics
the
they have.
sidetrack here.
No, I
As
mean,
far
look, we need to investigate this.
as far as DC goes, there's a lot of things I'm curious about, like Sinister Sons. I'm intrigued by Neil before Zod, stuff like that. I'm really intrigued by, but I'm a little hesitant with everything. It's like I'm approaching them optimistically, but try not to get my expectations too high.
I am excited about that Neil before Zod book too.
Yeah.
I think that looks kind of cool. Yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, it's not like the days where comics used to be $2 and it was just like, oh, I'll try this out and I'll try that out. It's like now you're like, should I try this out? Is this something that I'm going to want to enjoy? Josh was saying, how about Swamp Thing? Right? We haven't seen a Swamp Thing book out, Dark Justice League book.
I've never been a big Swamp
while.
Thing fan.
So
I mean, look, if it came out and I heard it was great, sure. But I mean, we had one kind of recently. I think Ron V worked on it, and I don't remember anything about
I think that's
but...
going back 2 years now already since it ended.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's not on their website. You're right. So I don't know what's going on.
I'm not sure what's going on with Radiant Black on that. But yeah, Swamp Thing is interesting because it's a very almost at the times of Vertigo, and obviously it made a reappearance during the New 52 and became its own thing, but it feels like a leftover of Vertigo because it's very tonally similar to like your Sandmans and stuff. So it's a weird book in that regard. It's like, where does it fit in the current DC universe? Where does Watchmen fit?
I feel like we've seen the character recently, just not the book. I don't remember where, but
Constantine
I do remember
is coming back.
What?
Constantine is coming back.
Oh yeah.
Is he? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's sometime in January. I think the book is coming back.
Never been a big fan of Constantine, but obviously Constantine has such a cult following that
I think it's Black Label too.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see what other books are here. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man has a lot coming out. It's hard because there's stuff where I'm like, I don't like Spider-Gwen's a good example where I'm actually enjoying so much this current series of Spider-Gwen, at least with this first issue, and then the next one they're just going to 616. I'm like, I don't know if I'm as excited for that as what I'm currently reading. And then Spectacular Spider-Man, like I didn't really love the latest Young Justice season, so like, oh, how's Greg Weisman going to do on that? And same, we talked about Ultimate Spider-Man. I think the ones I'm most excited for really is like the Mary Jane and Black Cat stuff. I'm excited for Jackpot, and I'm really, really excited for Black Cat and Mary Jane to have a series again. Because so far, every single time and obviously it was the same creator who worked on it, and this time we're getting a different writer. But every single time they team up, it's been like the best book of the year.
It's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that too. I'm just excited to see what will happen after Gang War and if Jason Aaron leaves. Or not Jason Aaron, Zeb Wells leaves. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, we're getting another Miss Marvel mini.
Another one, yeah. You liked the previous. You liked the previous book. I thought it was just okay, but I definitely enough that I want to see where she goes. And I love Miss Marvel. I want justice for those characters. I want them to have bigger runs, stronger creativity. Feels like they're a bit restrained a lot of times when they release new books. I mean, Spider-Gwen feels similar. We're like, she's going to 616. I'm like, yeah, we've seen that already. I would like to again see more versions of Hellcat. I want to see more books where the writer you could tell is just the biggest fan in the world and just wants to write a good story.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think you're lacking writers that are passionate about the character. So like you got Daniel Warren Johnson who's writing Transformers because he's passionate about Transformers. You can tell
he wants to write the best.
This is the dream job for him. Like this was his childhood. And like you don't get that from a lot of these writers that, that are writing in Marvel or DC. You get a few of them, but you don't get, I feel like Joshua Williamson can only do so much. The dude is writing so much stuff. Like he's writing Green Arrow, he's writing Superman, he's writing the 2 comic book, he's writing, you know what I'm saying? Like how many
It's a
books can you
lot.
write in a month before you start, burning out, or before it affects the quality of the book?
Yeah.
I was literally having a conversation with my business partner Phil, where we were just talking about like our own writing, and it was like, oh, we have a lot to write right now. I was like, yeah, but I was looking at Joshua Williamson's list. I'm like, I don't know how he gets that much done in a year. I was like, it was so many books. I was like, oh my god, we're trying to get this number of books done, and he's doing so many.
Yeah.
That the Web of Spider-Man book.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
Greg
Is
Capullo.
that a new
Right.
announcement, or because I feel like I missed it?
It's in March solicitations.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
okay. Must have been newish.
So
Um,
it's going to be like a one-shot book where I guess everything upcoming for the character is going to happen. So,
yeah, no, I think the entropy in comics is I'm going to talk with Celeste, and she's really pumped to write the first Jackpot book with Mary Jane. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's all you need is a lot of passion for a character, and that will bleed through. Because I feel like there's sometimes books where it's just like, yeah, we know this author from this, and this prose author should write this Marvel book, which obviously like it worked out with Rainbow with Runaways. I loved her Runaways, but then you're like, oh, like, well, did they pitch this because they love this character, or is it just like you want this writer to be on your book? Like, obviously, I would like to know the behind the scenes of that regard of like, was this a passion project, or is it just the next project that you needed someone to fill up?
yeah, for sure.
all right, cool. So, now we talked about some of those comics. What do you guys think of? What do you guys think? Got any New Year's resolutions, whether it comes to like just resolutions in general or within your comic collecting? I did a short video the other day about my comic collecting and what I wanted to accomplish. What do you guys have? I'll start with you, Brant. Any ideas?
As far as collecting goes,
Yeah, yeah.
Or
You can start
anything, I
off with
think.
collecting and then go into normal stuff.
yeah, collecting wise, I've really been trying to slowly focus on like getting trade collections of the series that I like really love.
That's
Like
smart.
yeah, it's like I got Radiant Black Volume 2 for Christmas. That was on my list. I'm my Invincible Ultimate Collections. I still need to. I've got 5 of them. I want to slowly build that up. So that's those series that I really love. I like to get them in that format so I can just display them, pull them out whenever I want to, and don't have to dig through my boxes to find the single issues. Um, so that's kind of the thing, and then like really, I think I want to kind of what's the word? I can't think of a word for some reason, but I want to cut down what I'm reading because I'm reading
Mm.
way too much, and I want to be more focused on the stuff that I really love. And I think I still do too much. I try to read too much,
I think you
and
just got to read the
I'm not
things you
enjoying it
enjoy.
all. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So,
and as you know, my pool is a little smaller than you guys because of it. But
yeah,
a long time ago, I decided that I remember I was reading events I didn't like and books I knew that I just wasn't enjoying, and I've been much better at like giving stuff a try,
yeah,
obviously, but also just
right.
cutting out the things I don't like.
You got to sometimes. It's too much. It's too much to keep up
Mhm.
with, and it's too much to
Yeah.
spend. So you got to do that. And then as far as organizational, we were moving my comic boxes or our comic boxes the other day because we had them just all over our bedroom, and we were putting them in the closet, and they're still not sorted from the move before last. So, or maybe the move before that. I don't know. They're a mess. I like opened up a box that was supposed to be like X-Men, and it was like there was like Superman, there was indie stuff in there. I was like, oh man, we're just gonna have to take a weekend and just like go. So I want to organize all that, get everything back in its place because it's a mess right now.
Gotcha. All right. So, what about you, Kat?
Yeah, comic wise, I'd like to be. I kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. I just want to be a bit more organized when it comes to actually putting things away, and being prompt about it would be nice. And then overall, yeah, I mean, comic wise, like making comics and making great comics, and
Yeah,
just the biggest New Year's resolution is just being everywhere. I know that's weird to say, but like being on Webtoon, doing Kickstarter, hopefully eventually getting something in the direct market too, where it feels right. So doing those type of things and just trying to do things that we've been doing, even better and leveling up every place we can go. So in that regard, yeah. And then, you know, personal level, just always try to be a better human being. I think it's interesting because when you get the question of like, oh, what are you going to do for your New Year's resolution? I always hate giving like, this is the thing. It's like, I always like giving the overall of like trying to be a better person, be a better version of yourself, but also actually working on that. Cause I feel like anyone could be like, I'm going to be a better person or do better. But I think always having that overall goal of just, doing better and trying to be even happier every single year, figuring out what that means for you is always the goal. So, yeah. And I think that bleeds into your comics too. I think that bleeds into the collecting where it's just like, oh, I'm not enjoying this comic. This doesn't bring me happiness. Then I probably shouldn't be reading it. And just always trying to be better at being a good human to others, but also being a good human to yourself and kind of balancing both of that.
If I can bounce back, because I didn't know Kat was going into all that stuff, so I gotta catch up.
No, you could go for it.
No, I just wanted to add, as far as the comic creating thing goes, I put out a newsletter the other day, and I revealed.
I read it. It was really good. It was a good newsletter.
So my theme for the year is structure, and something that I'm really bad at is a schedule. I hate schedules. It's part of the reason I work for myself. I'm just not good with that. I base everything based on feelings, what I feel like doing, and that kind of thing. So this year though, I feel like to level up, to get to that next level and stuff, that I need to make myself have more structure in my life just overall. So that's kind of where my focus is this year, is trying to get everything in a schedule and in a place where I can be more productive. And
make a master to-do list, Brian. It'll change your life. That's one of the best things we've ever done.
I've got a whiteboard on the wall, like right here with the to-do
Gotta make that Excel sheet. Gotta make that Excel sheet.
But
I'm telling you, change your life.
I need it in my face. That's why it's on the whiteboard. Because if I don't see it every day,
it's funny because it's like I was telling Kat before the show, before you came on, like, my whole world is a schedule. The schedule is to a T. And if I don't follow that schedule, it throws the entire week off. Like, it's the routine is just gotta be on point. Like, to the second of where I, like, say for instance, get my comic books, to the second I read them, I have to make the video that day, or the video does not get published the time that I need it to get published. Like, it all snowballs into like this effect. So schedule is super important.
Yeah. And see, that's my life. It's just chaos. I'm just all over the place. Like, I had to flip my schedule just to make this show, because for the past week I've been getting up at like 11 o'clock. So,
wow.
It's crazy. I need a little bit more stability, and that's my own fault. It's just the way I am. It's the way I've always been. Even when I had 9-to-5 jobs and when I had school, I was still the same way, and I just slept a lot less, and now my body just can't take that anymore. So that's kind of my resolution, if you will. So
all right.
And it's a good resolution for sure. And you have the concreteness of it. It's just like, I want this thing. I want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I know what I'm working towards. Yeah.
I think when it comes to comics, for me, I did the organization thing. Like, I conquered that this past year, which has been really good. I've been on top of it, which is nice. My biggest thing is same thing, learning to release certain comic books, even if I don't enjoy them. I know I'm a comic book review channel, so a lot of it goes into that. But
those issue ones too, you try out a lot of different issue ones.
Yeah, but after the issue ones, if I don't like it by issue 2 or 3, like just let it go. Like,
let go of Holy Roller.
Already did.
Like, that book, like, people are telling me you're holding on to that book way too long. So, like, you're right. Like, 100% right. And another thing was, like, I love buying variant covers to comic books. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to stop buying variant covers, but I'm not going to buy as many because I did good in the beginning of the year, but I wound up blowing it when Transformers came out. I was like, oh my God, I got to get this and I got to get that. Right. They were so cool, you know? And then I do a lot of, like, I buy a lot of variants when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, just because I am a collector of Amazing Spider-Man. So that's probably one thing that I'm not going to stop. But reading the comics, learning to let go. And I think being that comics are more money now than they've ever been, I think it's very important to look at those things. When to let go of a comic. Do you need to buy 2 or 3 versions of the same comic book cover when you could buy something else to read, right?
Sure.
So it's definitely how you can you can still read a lot of comics. You just gotta pick and choose what
Be
you
smart.
want. Yes, be
Yeah.
smart about it.
Be smart about it. Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's an expensive hobby, and you gotta read the things that make you happy. That's it. I think again, we see some people say, "Oh, I love this book, and I'm so great it's here," and then there's others where it's like, "I'm just reading this because I feel like I have to." Like Spider-Man's
Right.
a really good example, and I mean, we feel that way, but even when Spider-Man's bad, I'm finding enjoyment of it because I genuinely just love the character. I love the journey. I like seeing, well, this is really bad now, but I'm excited for when it gets better. And that's because it is a long saga for Spider-Man. But I'm still enjoying myself. Even when it's sad that it's worse, I still love Peter. But if you
Yeah.
are at a point where you're hate reading something, I think that's when you should stop reading it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
And then, when it comes to just overall resolution type of stuff, I mean, as a person, when it comes to my channel, I continue to try to improve upon it
Mm-hmm.
every single year. And I think it's made great strides from
Sure.
its conception to this
Yeah.
point right now. And I wouldn't be able to accomplish that with you guys, especially because of the show and then all the people that watch. I think it's very important. So I take everything to heart. This is a very passionate project for me because it was very hard to get this stuff started. And so continue to make that great. Continue to make the tennis business, continue to make that grow and get better. All the kids that I teach, and it's just like those things go hand in hand. This YouTube and this, like, tennis makes YouTube work because some of that tennis money that I get helps me fund for those comic books,
Right.
Yeah.
and then, YouTube pays me back later on in the month. So it kind of goes full circle. But, the tennis business is very important to me. I touch so many people in the community, and those kids mean everything to me. And even with the adults too, that I teach too, but when you get those kids that look up to you and stuff like that, that's just so very self-rewarding. It shows
Sure.
me why I do that every day. And then just a personal thing of mine, we had a Planet Fitness open up like 5 minutes from my house, and I haven't been to the gym pretty much since my kids were born.
It's been a
So
while.
like,
But I mean,
I
you
mean,
exercise in different ways, but to
yeah,
Yeah.
get
I
more fit.
exercise with tennis all
Yeah.
the time,
Right.
but being that, I'm getting close to 50, I'm 48 and I'm getting close to 50, I need to get in like better
Yeah.
physical condition.
Yeah.
So, I already started going to the gym already like 2 weeks ago and just being more active that way.
Yeah.
Just so I can stay in shape and keep doing what I'm doing. So I don't see myself retiring anytime soon for anything. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's
Yeah.
that.
I got to
No,
get
it's
back to
all
my physical therapy. I kind of went lax on it over the holidays, so that'll be next week. I'll start that back up.
No, it's keeping yourself healthy is
Yeah.
important. I always love doing my basketball, but these are always the hardest times. And I luckily I went to like an arcade thing today, and I played basketball for like an hour because I was like I love playing, and it's like it's always my exercise, but this is always the hardest times. Like I go to the park and it's so freaking
Yeah.
cold, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just too
Yeah.
cold, man. And I like playing in
Yeah.
the cold sometimes, but it's so cold, and this is as like it's. I guess it's definitely more of a New York thing than a southern thing, but it's just like if you want to be active and be outside is so much harder during this time. But then during the summer,
Yeah.
I go play basketball every single day. So
I mean,
I enjoy the exercise too.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge like sports guy. Like I
Yeah.
love sports. Like
I
anything.
don't know if y'all can see it. 47
What
degrees here in
Yes.
Texas right now.
Oh, so so is Mike saying that too? It's like
Yeah,
30
it's
something here.
cold
So
here
you
too,
guys
yeah.
are feeling it.
Yeah.
A little bit, not as much as you, but a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge sports guy and I love to play sport. If you said, "Oh, Mike, let's go play basketball," I'll be like, "All
Yeah.
right, do you want to throw the football?" I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I'm a huge
Yeah.
football guy." It's just I love sports and I get what you're feeling, like when it's cold, you don't want to go outside and play, you know, like, so this morning, like teaching tennis camp, it was 48 degrees outside. And so for me to go out there and teach, and to teach like 10, 11, anywhere from 10-year-old to 16-year-old kids tennis today, that I give them a lot of credit for going out there, man, because it's cold out there in Central Florida, you know?
Yeah.
No, yeah, and it makes it harder for sure. And then so 2 years ago, I got a YMCA membership because I'm like, I'm gonna play my basketball every day still. Everyone else is gonna YMCA membership too. There was no hoops available, and I was like, I guess not. I guess I'm not doing that. And I did, I had that for a year, and I just like never went because it was just like I hated how. And also, you could say go earlier. They had designated times you could go in to play basketball. They had 2 or 3 hours where it was open. I'm like, this is stupid.
I wish I could be a little bit more active because of my back. I can't. And that's what I'm trying to get to, right? So I'm getting shots on the 17th, and we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
And keeping up the physical therapy, get my
That's
core
what you got to
tightened.
do.
Yeah.
If you got to do that PT, you got to do it so you can build up enough strength so you can exercise. And that's what I'm trying to do so I don't get into those situations, keep those, muscles strong and just, stay fit. And I feel it's the more you're active, obviously when the older you get, you'll be in much better shape. So, and it's very important for me because it's my career.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need to stay fit. Otherwise, I'll be this old man running around the court and be broken. I don't want to be that.
So pick up that ball.
So yeah, that was mine, and then that's about it. So I guess before we close out the show, I guess we want to do the most anticipated for next week real quick.
Yeah, let's do the most anticipated. There it is. All right. Yeah, we'll go through these pretty quick. I mixed up mine because I didn't want to just be repetitive for everybody, but I'll talk about Vengeance of Moon Knight real quick. It's basically a continuation, same creative team and stuff, or at least same writer, but Moon Knight's dead. And so now we're going to see, who this other mysterious character is and how the story continues without Moon Knight in the mix. So it's going to be interesting, at least for me.
I'll pick it up. I fell off of Moon Knight, so I want to see if it's new reader friendly.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And then Kat and I both have Pine and Merrimack on our list.
This looks really cool. I don't know if this is on your radar, Mike, but
I am gonna pick it up. Yeah. It just I didn't want to put it down. Also, I read the description and everything, so it's kind of hard for me to be like, am I gonna be super excited about this? This is gonna be a comic that I have to read.
Right.
It looks so cool. I really like the art, and it's also the same writer who wrote Peacemaker, the previous series I really liked. I really enjoyed Peacemaker. And it's just about this girl who's like a detective, and she's married to an MMA star, and there's a mystery there. And I'm like, oh, this is like totally up my alley. Sounds cool.
Yeah. And it seems like it might be a creepy mystery. One of the covers I saw, they were laying in bed, and there was like these creepy hand shadows going over them, so that's got me intrigued as well. So you got Marvel Meow on yours, and I did talk about this in a video.
This is a weird book. This is a weird week. I'm only getting 9 books, but I was like, this seems different, and I really loved it's Jeff, so I was hoping it'd be a very similar kind of thing where it's just kind of fun, and I believe it is based off of those comics, those like Infinite comics. So this could just be fun. Cat loves cats. I actually hate cats. I only like one cat, and that's my business partner's, because I've like seen, since she was a little kitty, I know her, but I really don't like cats. So this is even more from left field that I just but I was like, oh, this could be cute, and I hope it's at least fun. And I'm only going off of I like Jeff the Land Shark.
All right, so Mike, this one almost made my list. Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099 #1.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't it continuing the stuff?
No, it's something different.
It's new.
It's got Marvel Zombies in it.
Yeah. Okay. So, I could have easily put Amazing Spider-Man here in its place, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to put Miguel O'Hara because I feel like I'm always anticipating 2099's books, and they always let me down. But this story sounded fun because it had Marvel Zombies in it. So I was like, maybe this one will actually be good. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, same. And Amazing Spider-Man, of course, that
Yeah.
is typically on our list, but it was officially on Cass.
Yeah, no, look, I'm really enjoying Gang War. I'm happy to
Yeah.
have this book on my list because even though typically recently it's been on our top, it for a very long time has not been.
Right.
So, yeah, obviously I'm
true.
just excited. And it's just such a weird week. I'm literally getting that Kid Venom books. I don't read Venom and I haven't read anything with it. And that's a
Yeah,
reprint.
same.
I'm
It's
like,
a reprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
I
I'm
haven't
not
read
getting
it.
it. I'm not getting it.
But you read it. We didn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm getting it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I'm
so I was like,
telling
oh,
you,
that's
can I tell you something?
It's not worth
that
it?
good.
It's
Yeah.
not that good.
Honestly,
Okay.
I can
it's not.
figure.
I wouldn't waste your money on it, to tell you the truth.
All
I
right.
can't dwindle to 8. I gotta at least get 9 books tomorrow.
There's nothing special there, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I'm
Gotcha.
sure it's not gonna be the best read in the world. It didn't even look really up my alley, but I was like, all right, I'll give it a
Yeah.
try. I don't like Spider-Boy mail like Kid Venom.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I mean, look, Marvel Meow is on my list, so that's again saying something.
Serenity
And-
said he
Yeah.
hasn't dug a 2099 book since he was stranded in the present 616 like a decade ago.
Yeah, that was
the
probably
one
the last
that
time
Peter
we liked it,
David
too.
wrote, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't
Yeah, I think so,
that was
yeah.
the
And-
last good one. Yeah.
There was like
Yeah.
Captain Marvel 2099. I like that one.
Yeah.
That was good.
So Neil Before Zod, we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier. It's on both mine and Mike's list.
I'm
this
not
week.
reading it, so you guys will
You're
have to
not
let me
reading it?
know.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
because I don't like Zod that much. You'll have to let me
Okay.
know, like if you guys read it and you're like, "Kat, you need to read this," or if it's just
Yeah.
like something.
Yeah.
It's a villain book, so I'm on board with that, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, Fall of the House of X, #1 is Mike's #1, which would almost make my list as well. So
I just don't know I don't know what to expect.
Right.
It's just there because there isn't
Yeah.
that many books.
Right,
So I
exactly.
was like, out of all the books, this seems like the premier book of the week, or maybe the
Right.
most highly anticipated book. So I
Mhm.
was just like, I want to see how this all, goes down, I guess, really.
Yeah,
Makes
exactly.
sense. I think that's it. So, you know, we had a long show and a
Yeah.
great way, good way to start 2024. And next week will be interesting. I'm glad we saved the news for next week because it'll give us something to talk about with all the little books we're getting.
Yeah. Hopefully there is news to talk about too. So
Yeah.
otherwise we'll
Yeah,
have some
I'm sure
kind
there
of
is.
generic or Q&A conversation to talk about. So
Save your
But,
questions for next week.
yeah, exactly. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the show. It was a good way to kick off the new year. Hopefully you'll make it a New Year's resolution to tune into Comic Book Weekly every single
Live.
Yep, live. That would be awesome, right?
Yeah,
We
it
had
would.
good showing today, considering that it is
absolutely.
still like people are hungover
Holidays.
still and all the kinds of stuff, right?
They're still
So,
hungover. I feel bad for you if you are still hungover from 2 days ago. You might want
Hey,
to
you
get
never
that
know,
checked.
man. You never know.
Maybe they're still
But-
drunk.
They
Yeah.
could be. I hope you know what, if you're still hungover at this point, I hope you're still drunk because at least then you're having a little bit of a fun time.
But make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and again, subscribe to Comic Book Weekly so you can check out all the shows right there. And then check out Comic Book Corner 2.0, where you can check out my content and the shows there. And check out Cat Comic Uno's YouTube channel and check out Brant's Only Good Comics YouTube channel. All great channels, guys. And of course, as always, have a wonderful night. Happy New Comic Book Day, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.
Happy
Good
New
night.
Year.
Bye.